Looks good. Looks good so far. I was working with Ava, my cousin, and because we're cousins, we have similar skin complexion. And I realized like this light setup with these lights in the back, the purple. The purple's my iconic, and then these like slightly warm colors like did
You gotta be in theme for our school colors.
yeah did wonders. Did wonders for our skin complexion, like our skin tone. And since we're similar skin tone, I just did the same thing.
We're both Southeast Asian.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Alrighty. Well, you ready to get this party started?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. So, hello and welcome to the Talking Stage. This is episode 13, and today I'm joined with.
Branden.
All right, Branden. I mostly started talking to you like the end of junior year, but mostly more this year, and because we did the play production together. He was an actor. I was the costume technician, and as you can tell, we're both suited up slightly. For me, this is what I wore for my choir concert. Aside from this Slytherin robe, because it's almost Halloween actually, and today he's suited up for numerous reasons.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. It's a little occasion, little belated birthday celebration for my mom. So.
Okay. Oops, I fucking had you muted the whole time.
What? Are you serious? Wow.
All right, but that's fine. I'll just start it from there.
Okay.
Oh, I can hear you smacking.
See, that's why. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that away quite a bit.
But, well, I mean, it recorded me, so let's just get this party started. You
Okay.
ready?
All right. Yeah.
Alrighty. And today's topic is the spark. And so me and Brandon have talked, I think it was 2 nights ago on Friday night, about
I felt like yesterday.
yeah, honestly. Like it felt or we were talking about different things that happen in our lives. Like he listened to the podcast and listened about my experiences. I also told him more stories about myself. He was saying some other stories about his life and how certain things have changed who he is to who he's become now. And I told him, save it for the podcast. And so here we are. Prejudice, right? And prejudice is something, and judgment in general is something that changes a lot of people, right? And so in what situations has someone else's judgment or even your own judgment changed and created the spark to become who you are now? That's a W transition.
It's a W transition, but I was kind of lost in the sauce for a minute.
Okay.
I was kind of more focused on the food. I'm sorry, but
That's okay.
I think in terms of like,
Actually, you don't have to start with specific examples. You can speak
Okay.
as a general then.
okay, I think that when it comes to basing your knowledge on someone based on like previous experience off of like a similar person is a bit of like, again, it's a prejudice, right? And I think that it's like a fight or flight response kind of like whether you want to interact with that person or not based on what you had experienced before.
Okay.
And sometimes it can be warranted, other times it really isn't. I think that most of the time, like I think it's anecdotal.
Yeah.
For it to be justified. But in general, like it's not really justified. I think that everyone deserves a clean slate and shouldn't be judged based on someone else's own fault, because you're not responsible for that. Granted, you may be, so you invoke some similar traits to that person or whatever, but again, you're not that other person. You are your own self. So you shouldn't be tied to that.
Yeah. And to clarify, you were talking about the sibling situation.
Pretty much, yeah. Or like, and really just in general, like even
Okay.
it comes to like interpersonal like conflict.
What do you mean?
What I mean is like, so actually it reminded me of this. I had a friend named Shiloh back in elementary school, and there was this girl who like really hated him, right? And like for no reason, she was a complete ass.
I mean, this was like elementary school, right?
Of course, yeah, but
Okay.
like, but it still stuck to me.
Yeah.
But the reason why it stuck to me was like because like he confronted her one day, like, "Why are you so mean to me? You know what? What did I do to you?" And she says, "Oh, because you remind me of somebody that was mean to me." So, like that was her justification. It's the justification. I think it's like thin as ice, but then again, it's still her.
It was meaningful to
It was
her.
yeah, it was meaningful to her enough to be that much of like to be that mean to my friend. So he, but of course I'm sure he took that to heart. Well, I don't know if he took it to heart, but I know I did. I did because like, damn, you can really just hate somebody because of somebody else who
Right.
probably never known in his life. You know, I mean, that's it's odd. It's intriguing.
Yes.
It's definitely intriguing, I think. So I just think that, like, in terms of what sparks that is just like, of course you have to, like, okay, what's the cause and effect? What's the cause and effect? What's the
Right.
cause and effect? But I think that cause and effect is a bit of a it's you never know when to end when it comes to cause and effect, because then you could just go back to, though it's not, it becomes frivolous when you go a little too far back, but the mental exercise still exists nonetheless. 'Cause, like, I could kick you in the balls right now,
Sure.
and you'd be like, dude, what the hell was that for? I'm like, oh, well, this and that happened before, so whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's not a proper cause. Yes, it is, because so and so happened back in the past, and we can keep going on and on about the past, and nothing can get solved.
Mhm.
So I think that also extends into a lot of other things, just like harboring a lot of resentment based on what has happened in the past. That's a huge issue.
Yeah.
I feel.
And I think what's dangerous about that is for somebody to actually like do that situation, like how you're talking with your friend,
Mm-hmm.
where somebody has done this to that person, so they push it to that person. It's like it's a chain reaction.
Right. Yeah.
They would push their resentment onto everybody, and then it makes the entire situation like not just between each other, but between anybody that those two people would interact with. It just makes it worse
Right. Yeah.
because they're impressed upon those like previous experiences.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that everybody deserves a blank slate, first of all, I agree. But some people don't have that mental maturity to like put that away and put it with a new person. So how would you like what advice would you give them to try and get past that?
Move past it.
Or at least create a blank slate from the new person.
Well, for me, I think it's also kind of like applied to myself as well, because I remember during my time like in high school, especially, I think it peaked in junior year. I did not want to talk to any underclassmen.
By the way, we're seniors.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk to any underclassmen at all, because of like some things that were also currently going on then, but also it started when I became a sophomore, and it's just like, oh, the newer generation of students they're so rude and disrespectful and blah blah blah. Which some of it is true. There are some knuckleheads, so just some rotten apples in the whole bunch. But of course, they taint the whole.
Yeah.
The whole, like, in your mind,
batch.
yeah, the whole batch gets tainted because of one little apple, right? And it's not the fault of the whole. Like, what I learned was it's not the whole fault. Like, it's not the fault of the whole group, right? Because of the immaturity of someone else, and to have that mindset in of itself, I think it's immature.
Yeah.
So like I kind of had that mindset for a while, but it was kind of during my time like becoming a senior, like the summer and then like first day of school, like what kind of started my journey of getting past that was one, I would say I was a bit of a cold person before.
Okay.
But like what warmed me up to everybody was like everyone was all of a sudden one day everyone started saying hi to me. Hi Brandon, hi Brandon, hi Brandon.
As in the underclassmen?
Not even the underclassmen, just even our class too.
Okay.
But like also the underclassmen as well. Like, oh, hi, yeah, what's up, man? What's up? Like, it's like people who I barely even knew, or people who I remember like they didn't even like me,
Right.
and they just started saying hi to me. I think at that point it's just like everyone starts to grow up. They let bygones be bygones, and just because there's more things to focus on than holding grudges,
Right.
And that's kind of what helped me start to let go of a lot of things. And then on top of that too was doing not only being in the play, but also being in drama 1. I had to interact with a lot of freshmen, and they just showed a new light. Like they're very, like, at least the ones in that class, although they can be a bit loud sometimes, they're very nice, they're very humble, and I think they're very genuine.
Yeah.
Right. And to me, it's like, it's more like pure, in my opinion. I don't know if that applies to every single freshman. I hope it does.
Right.
But like for them in that class, and also in the play as well, everyone was very genuine. Everyone was very humble, nice. At least on the actor side, but side of things. But and that kind of like allowed me to let my guard down, because a lot of it just had to do with like holding your guard up. Being cold was what helped me put my guard up. But when everyone was showing warmth, it's like that's when you start to let your guard down. And now I just feel, and now I feel more at ease with people. I feel more at ease with the world
And with yourself.
and with myself. I don't feel angry anymore because I don't have a reason to be angry. That's that.
And it's like how I was talking about with the chain reaction. It's just in the opposite direction where it's a positive chain reaction. As in this one person, for one reason or another, they decide to say hi and like show that warmth for one reason or another. And then it caused you to become a different person. And therefore, like it's a mutual agreement between people who are kind to each other. It's easier to be kind to each other if the other person's doing the same. Yeah. And so, well, that's one example of like how judgment and difference in judgment can create a spark in who you are as a person anymore.
Right. Yes.
Right. And we spoke about this before, and I also spoke about this on the previous podcast, but people our age, as we grow up, we've started to put away the grudges and all of that and like become more adult-like. And so does the presence of aging also, like, what part of growing up really makes a person change in their personality? Because, you know, people change based on just the way their mind works and then they experience different things. But like, is there a specific aspect of growing up that like really changes a person? I'll go first. I think like not romantic relationships, but relationships in general with your friends and with teachers, I think is very transformative. In which like, because you will meet so many different types of people. And I said this before, like you are a mosaic of the people around you. It really shapes the way that you treat other people versus different certain people. And who you are as a person can end up being good or bad based on the people that you meet around you.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's definitely a very good point because, like you said, the mosaic. Oh, you're bringing up the yearbooks right now?
I'll put it next to you.
Okay, I like that. So I just think that, like in terms of the mosaics, I think that the people who you hang around with, they're definitely a reflection of who you are, right? And sometimes I think like, and I'm so honestly, I really regret learning this very late in my time in high school, but a good change of scenery is nice once in a while, if you know what I mean. You know, getting you, just because you have a whole group of friends already shouldn't hold you back from finding new friends, right? That's why I started hanging out with you. I started hanging out with Josh Sherman, and Calvin. I started to hang out with a lot. Well, I mean, not really hang out with, but started to become more friends with him, like last year, especially. And I just think that that's a good thing because it expands your horizons on a lot of things, and it helps kind of like, especially in terms of high school, kind of like establish what your interests are. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it kind of shows you like, because friends, they drift apart. That happens. And that's just a natural thing. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's a natural order of things, and you just have to let it go, you know? And like in the case of the friend group I've been hanging out with for the past 3 years, you know, we kind of, our interest, honestly, I don't even know what our interests were truly. I think it's mostly just like mutual friends hanging out with each other, and then just like, oh, this is the huge friend group, right? But like in terms of like my close friends, a lot of it had to do with like interests like history and government or like Star Wars or something like that. But we've kind of, or like movies, actually that's a big one. But we kind of like, when we couldn't grow on those interests, we couldn't grow. I think that's when it kind of like started to all crack apart now, and we're kind of like very like despondent of each other now. So I wouldn't say we haven't had like a falling out, not yet, but like
just drift apart.
Yeah, just drifting apart, and that's fine. That's natural. It's a natural order of things, and assuming that happens, like because there's some sort of animosity that already pre-exists? I don't think so.
Mhm.
Sure, animosity can come when it happens, but I don't think it predates
Yeah.
when it comes, because it just happens. You know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you say you couldn't grow past your similar interests, do you mean as in you couldn't relate beyond that or have a deeper connection?
Yeah, I'd
Mhm.
say so. Mm, Partly because like our interests shift,
Yeah.
right? Our interests can shift a lot. Like um freshman year, if you asked me, hey, Brandon, would you ever consider being a part of the play? I would have said back then, no, never. You would never see me over there.
Mhm.
What happened, right?
Here we are. Yeah.
And if you were to ask like a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine from like back in 7th grade,
Mhm.
hey, would you like find yourself boxing or doing MMA or whatever? He'd probably be like, no, I wouldn't.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's changed.
Mhm.
And if you can't build a continued mutual common interest,
Mhm.
then there's nothing much else that you can do.
Mhm.
Sure, you can share all the experiences you want together.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Mhm.
But it's not the end all be all of your friendship.
Yeah.
There still has to exist that common interest
Yeah.
of why you're still friends.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen anymore, like, because I've seen it like day in and day out now with my close friends, where it's like, yeah, I'm still friends with them. It's just that like we're not like that tight anymore.
Mhm.
And I think that just has to do with our interests,
Mhm.
because they shift. And you know, I'm like, for example, I'm not really into MMA. Or
Mhm.
I'm not really into boxing. I'm really into cars. My other friend, he's not really into cars.
Right.
That's why I became friends with. That's why when I really got tighter with Sherman,
Mhm.
because we both like cars a lot.
Mhm.
And I just, but like moving away from that, I think that it's a more mature thing to do is like just
Yeah.
acceptance of that situation. Because one of my friends, I just feel like he hasn't matured in that sense of like accepting the situation.
Mhm.
And I think that's you know, like, oh, pity, but
Mhm.
still, you know, it is what it is.
Are you saying he's having a hard time with accepting that people are drifting apart?
I think so. Yeah, he's, you know, I mean, although I kind of came up with this phrase like, "Oh, Babylon's fallen. Oh, our friend group's destroyed." Ah.
Yeah.
But but I come to accept that. That's
Mhm.
fine. You know, it's whatever. People have different.
It's human.
Yeah, it's human. It's an intrinsically human thing to happen. I don't think he's accepted that.
Mhm.
He's always like, "Man, I remember the sophomore year
Oh, I
friend
remember.
group was peak, man. It was peak." But you know, it's just like, yeah, it was. But sure, I mean, all you got left are the memories to live by. But if you can't move on from them,
Mhm.
I'm not saying you have to erase those memories.
Mhm.
But if those are what's holding you back
Yeah.
from like having newer friends
Mhm.
or finding people with more common interests
Mhm.
with you, then I think that
That's your own problem.
that's your own. Like, you're helpless
Yeah.
at that point. I just feel like you're helpless.
I mean, it goes back to that one quote where, like, don't be sad that it's gone. Be happy that it happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Actually, I want to be a puffs.
Yeah.
That was my story
Yeah.
to like get people to come and see the show for one last time. I was like, don't be sad it's over. Be happy that you saw it one last time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. And then that also goes to the quiz that I showed you. The attachment style.
Yeah. I my laundry literally was like, okay, let me do a little tangent here
Okay.
real quick. So I hate this about like newer laundry machines.
Okay.
Like you put your clothes into like dry or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Put it in the dryer and it says, all right, it's gonna take an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you see the timer keep going down and down and down. So you go up, check up on it, says, okay, there's 10 minutes left. All right, I'll be back in 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, there's 8 minutes left.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate that. So when you're doing that, I was like, oh crap. And then you text me the quiz. I'm like, oh, fine, I'll do this and that. And then I had to call the school in order to excuse myself from a couple of days ago because they didn't accept my thing, which I can do
Mhm.
because I'm 18.
Mhm.
I have that right.
Okay.
But going back to the whole thing which I lost track about. That's why I went on the tangent.
Yeah.
But what were you? What were
It
you
was
asking?
about attachment styles. First, I'll define to the camera what attachment styles are. I took the quiz recently because I remembered what it was. I took it this morning, I believe. And what an attachment style is like it's the way that not necessarily the way your mind defines love, but it's the way that I mean, it's hard to explain, but attachment style is your relationship with affection from other people. And the way it processes through your own mind is what your attachment style is. And so there's 3 insecure and 1 secure types of attachment styles. I think there's other denominations, but it's mostly 4. If I'm correct, there's the first one, which is secure, which is kind of a lazy name. And then second is fearful avoidance. And third is dismissive. And fourth is anxious, I believe. Before I define what those are, which I don't have full understanding of, I'll ask you which one did you get?
So let's actually look on this thing right now. I don't remember that.
So I'll define it as secure is hard to say. It just means that you're very comfortable in a relationship and you could trust the other person easily.
Sorry. I got the anxious preoccupied. That's what I got.
I think that's the last one I think I said.
Okay. Awesome.
And so that's interesting that you say that because the second type is dismissive. Dismissive is you are not very attached to anything at all. Like you could push people away really easily and you don't really desire that much deeper connection because it feels more superficial to my understanding, to be fair. Third is anxious, preoccupied. I'm not sure if it's defined as preoccupied, but anxious. Like anxious is you do have a lot of investment in the connections that you create.
Yeah.
And that you want to try and hold on to it and you get anxious if something like that tries to drift apart. Fearful avoidant is what I am. And it's like a mix of anxious and dismissive, which is interesting, in which like people can desire deeper relationships, just not with themselves. And what I mean is like, for somebody like me, I'm really comfortable with like people who come to me with their issues. Like I feel inviting and I'm always willing to help them. But for me, I don't really ask for their help as that fearful avoidant type because of different types of things.
There we go. That's something common right there.
Yeah, that's something common right there. It's difficult, fairly uncommon, but also fairly common.
Right.
And so, do you want to read up on the anxious style?
Yeah, sure. Let me pull out my phone again.
I might cut this off, but
yeah, you're good.
To like
your fear of abandonment may be getting in the way of you forming healthy relationships that last. That's just the about your attachment style. That's like the summary, I guess. You are an extremely empathetic person who has mastered the art of connecting with others on a deep and real level. Social butterfly, blah, 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 blah.
First of all, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I agree because, well, actually, with your thing of like, I actually like, and I don't even know what I don't. It's not like I have like a sign saying, "Please come to me. I can help. I can help listen to you." Okay, You can tell me all your problems. Just come tell me. I don't have a sign that says that, but for some reason, people just come up to me sometimes and just like let it all out. And I noticed that like my freshman year, a lot of people just came in and I asked like, "Why do you come up to me? Why do you come up to me and tell me all of this?" You know. Well, and
it's not like you're offended, though.
No, it's not like I'm offended, but it's just like, it just confused me, you know, because I'm like, I can't be that. Like, am I really that good of an ear to listen to? And they're like, yeah, you are. You know, I just feel like you really are like an attentive listener. You really hear out my issues or whatever. And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm happy to help. But like when it comes to like me telling other people like my problems, I usually don't do that. I don't reciprocate that same like that same need. Not that I don't have it. It's just that I'm not comfortable doing that. for some reason. Yeah, I'm extremely comfortable hearing other people's problems.
Right. It's the same situation for myself, and it's interesting because I think there's a couple of different things that sparked that. Like and subscribe.
This guy. I
I'll
swear.
plug it. But there's a couple different things that might have sparked that part of me. I remember when I took it, because I don't know, I used to like to take personality quizzes in like sixth grade, in which I was so young and haven't like done a ton of stuff. It's hard to even say. But
Mhm.
I do remember clearly that I took the test multiple times and I always got secure. And what's interesting now is that I have like fearful avoidant, which is I think the least common type,
Mm.
which is interesting. And then I fall under the same category as not being able to open up to other people as easily. I think how it was before a certain thing that happened to me was like it was I think it might have been a part of pride. Like I don't want to ask for your help. Not I mean, it's part pride but also part selflessness is what's interesting is like I feel prideful and like I don't want to ask for your help, but at the same time I don't want to burden you.
Mm.
That makes sense. Do you
No,
agree with
no,
that?
I get you mean actually. As like for me, it doesn't even have to do with like I remember a very toxic trait I had back freshman year, especially, was like I didn't like it didn't even have to do with relationships
Mhm.
of like telling people, oh, what's the matter? You know, telling people what I had, what was wrong with me or whatever, like what I felt like was wrong. Like even with like my math homework or if I needed help with like a test, I would never ask anybody because I felt too prideful to ask.
Okay.
I felt like, but also it was protecting my pride
Yeah.
because I felt like at that time, if I were to ask somebody, hey, can you tell me what y equals mx plus b is? It would hurt. It would hurt. Like it would make me feel like I'm dumb. I'm stupid. You know, and I think that was kind of like shielding me from hurt in a way. So like to not admit to somebody that like, oh, something's wrong or whatever, that created it was again, it's like putting your guard up, protecting yourself, even though at the end of the day it may be detrimental for you to do that. So I think that's definitely, yeah, it makes a lot of sense actually.
Do you agree with like you don't want to burden others? Do you agree with that aspect?
I never thought of it that way as burdening others. Now it just seems coming out of my mouth now it seems more selfish. But if I thought about it back then, like reflecting on what I thought, no, I never thought of it as like, oh, you know, I burden someone. They have to help me, my dumbass, into trying to understand what this means. Because I guess it was just a little more like self-centered in a way of just like, oh, you know, I just feel dumb. I feel stupid for not understanding this concept, even though I should, or my peers do, or whatever. You know. So.
I think to be fair, for my situation, I've had a lot of mentors and not mentors, but like people who've listened and helped me heal. I have a lot of people who do that for me. And so at the same time, I would want to be that same person to a lot of other people, which I have become.
Right.
In which that's my situation where I want to reciprocate what people have done for me. And therefore I would feel like a burden for new people who I want to be that mentor to like put my trust in them for them to help me. And that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean on that.
And what's interesting is like it's overwhelmingly the opposite. Like everybody that I've talked to about that struggle, they're like, I love listening to your situations I'm in. Like I love listening to like who you are as a person, like because I do the same for them and they want to know more about me. It's just hard to accept that like people want to listen. Yeah. Do you agree with that situation for yourself?
For me, it's just, yeah, I think I would agree on that. It's just like, you know, who wants to listen to my situation? You know, who cares about
little old me?
You know, little old me. Yeah. Who cares about my story? You know, I care about. I can give my ear, my 2 cents to other people who may be in need of my help, but I don't believe like there's not a lot of people out there who are willing to listen. Even like my closest friends, like I don't really tell them much about like my personal troubles. I just leave it at like euphemisms or just very vague information because I don't think it's their problem. Like
Yep.
like at the end of the day, I don't think it's their problem.
Yep.
But like until like they make it their problem, which that's like what I do to myself. Like sometimes I make other people's issues my issues, you know.
There he goes.
I'm still eating, man. But I don't want to be like oh wait,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I got 5. I got 3 hot gals left. I got two simai or sumai, whatever if you're Chinese, and the sticky rice is about to be gone. So
What's that sauce over there?
that's my mom's satay, the spicy like a chili oil. Yeah.
Oh,
Hello.
is this homemade?
Yeah, no, this is I got this from like this local place, my mom's house, but she made this homemade.
Interesting.
Yes, sir. That has to do with the spark. Yeah, it sparked the end of my hunger. So there's that.
Interesting. Man, what was I talking about? Oh yeah. Would you agree that like it's overwhelmingly the opposite that people would want to listen to?
I think like listen to my problems or listen to my advice.
Your problems.
Yeah, I think that I just like my default setting is just who wants to listen to me?
Yeah.
You know, who wants to listen to my issues? Do you have when people tell me their issues, you know, and I like let's say I'm the other person and I'm the person and they're me and I'm no.
They're me and I'm them.
Yeah, they're me and I'm them, right? So if you think about it like outside of like look at it from the outside, like this other person you're vented to has their own problems, they live their own life.
But they
So-
decide to.
Yeah, but they decide to listen to you, you know? And I feel humbly generous about that. I don't go around like I said, I don't have a sign that says I will listen to your problems, but you know, if you need someone to talk to, like I'm here for you, you know? Because I think it also kind of extends to like growing up, I never really had a lot of people to talk to about any issues. Like, cause there's a lot of events that happen in my life, you know, I mean, that happens to everybody, but you know, still it like, I didn't really get the chance to like when I remember like I vented out to somebody, the last time I did that was probably my mom.
Okay.
That was the last time, and that happened like a few years ago.
Okay.
I remember because I at that point I was just like checked out. I didn't want to deal with like any like BS or anything like that. I just but it was very rare for me to do that. To like anybody, and I would have to like actively even like the one time I had a girlfriend. I felt like I couldn't really vent much shit out to her. I felt like I can't remember. Well, actually, that's false. I remember I could vent out some things to her. She vented a lot out to me, but like I felt like, man, I feel like maybe I have a little too much to give. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
That's what I felt.
Yeah. That imbalance.
Mm-hmm. My mom's like, are you gonna hang with your friend? I'm like, I'm with him right now.
Huh.
Okay, rest easy, mom. Rest easy.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where I was coming from with that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways, to switch things up from social media.
If that's the case. I'm gonna freaking unbutton myself here. My neck is killing me. All right, there we go.
Alrighty. And so, to go back to a topic that we were talking about earlier about grudges and putting things behind like themselves. Like, what do you think is the cause, or more specifically, how would you go about forgiving somebody personally?
I think so. You know the phrase like forgive and forget, right? I think it's forgiving is one thing. Forgetting is like a whole different. Like honestly, I feel like that's like a second marriage.
Yeah.
Right. That in of itself is like a second marriage. And I just think that in terms of forgiving someone though, like what's the process in forgiving someone? I think that like from a general point of view, I think we, like you should forgive someone.
Mhm.
You shouldn't hold on to that grudge forever, and eventually you will get over it. I think it's intrinsically human just to get over it. Because like I remember when I was younger, I was like really like I was really reading into like scripture,
Okay.
right? And there was this I forgot what.
Like biblical?
Yeah, biblical scripture, and it was I forgot what book and verse it was, but the verse went something along the lines of you should forgive others.
Mhm.
You shouldn't hold grudges, and you should forgive others because God doesn't hold grudges against
Yeah.
you. You can always ask for His forgiveness and on things. You'll never hold anything against you, and I think that was very impactful on me.
Yeah.
Because there was someone in my life a long time ago who I was really immature about, and I really wanted to apologize to them, but they could never forgive me. And I felt like, but at that time, I didn't really truly understand. Like, I felt like I was owed that forgiveness, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And looking back now, I think it's a very stupid concept, but that's what I believed at the time. That, if you really are like a righteous person, you should forgive, But like if you try to force that forgiveness, then it's not genuine,
Mhm.
right? Because forgiveness has to be genuine. And I just think that like in terms of now, like if you forgiveness is not even just like a part of, oh, okay, I forgive you,
Yeah.
you are good in my book. It's a part of it's not an end, it's a means to an end.
Okay.
That being moving on
Mhm.
from something. In order to move on, you have to forgive,
Mhm.
right? That's just it's a means to an end. The end being just moving on from
Mhm.
whatever it was that happened.
Mhm.
And I think that's like a biggest part of like knowing if I had to tell somebody that you have to forgive someone about something, that's just like, well, like, do you still feel strongly about this one thing that happened or this one person? And if you do, okay, maybe you're not ready to forgive because you can still hold on to that grudge. But if you're ready, if you tell me like, yeah, I'm ready to let that go, like I don't really feel anything about that, and I'm like, okay, then I think it's time to forgive.
Mhm.
I think that's it.
The thing is, that phrase is what invites people to not forgive. Like, you should forgive this person. That's what people directly hate
Mm-hmm.
and what people directly avoid when they have that topic of forgiving a person who might have hurted them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's that phrase itself of what you should do that makes it even harder for them
Like
to do it.
it's like a command.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's like what you should do. But even if you understand it, your heart doesn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
In which makes it even more difficult, or no, it makes it impossible for you to truly forgive that person because that starts with how you really feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just close that real quick because I've talked about that in previous pods. But in all fairness,
Dude, I need to create like a bingo sheet.
Yeah.
What's Ivan gonna talk about this time? What's he talking about? Bingo.
situations where like it's clear there's conflicts and there's something different, or there's something like you two are disagreeing about, there's a difference in the way you understand attachment and relationships. Why do you think people are still drawn to stay within those relationships?
I think it's like fear of the unknown. I think.
okay.
I think it's fear of the unknown because it's
Fear of what's next.
yeah, fear of what's next, because especially if you've been with that person for a little while, they're kind of like still your world, and the more time goes on, the more that becomes apparent.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were to like, and especially some other factors too, like be it like financially or somewhere, but like if you're talking just purely by emotionally, like I think it's just like, they don't know, they probably think like, oh, this is probably the best I got, at least that my partner still does this and that for me. They still do that. They're not entirely terrible, even though they know that like, I could get better, I can do better than this, or I can no, this person, I don't feel like it's right for me, but I'll still settle with it nonetheless, blah, blah, blah. I just think that like, yeah, it's just like not being confident enough to seek out
Mhm.
what can be better, you
Mhm.
know, and just settling for less.
Mhm.
I think that's, and especially when you know, like that's like, oh, like I don't think we're compatible. It's just knowing that like, you know, well, who else is going to go after me? You know, who else?
Yeah.
It's kind of, or who
Yeah.
else would want me?
Mhm.
I think that's like a major thing about that. Yeah, definitely.
Mhm. And so, like, it's strange because there's also the other side of the spectrum
Mhm.
where people could like push away the person in a relationship really easily.
Mm.
Yeah. Why do you think that happens?
I just think that in terms of pushing away, I just think that has to do with like maybe that person isn't like ready
Okay.
for they're not at the same level, so they're not exactly like ready for what's next, or maybe like they're like the person who is like being pushed away maybe doesn't have enough confidence in themselves to like maybe like say let's say boy likes girl,
Right.
girl likes boy.
Right.
Boy says, "Can I be your boyfriend?" Girl's like, "Oh, I wasn't ready for that." And then they kind of like and incidentally like shun them away
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's an awkward situation.
it just becomes very awkward. It's like, how can you move past that? Like, if you're able to move past it, like actually move past it, wow, I got to give you Medal of Honor for that one.
Yeah.
You know, but because like it's like the quote when Harry met Sally.
Yeah.
Like can man and woman truly just be friends?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I kind of doubt that.
Really?
Yeah, I do, because uh, looking at it from again an emotional perspective, you know, there is a point when you know, of course you're gonna catch feelings because for especially for the other person,
Sure.
and especially if we're talking about like a heterosexual relationship, you know, it's it's the person of the opposite sex,
Mhm.
right? And there, you know, of course, there's going to be that little attraction that still lingers around, and then the only way that can be cured is like if that other person, if both of them
It's reciprocal.
are reciprocal, or like they find other people who can
Yeah.
fill in that void, right? So
Yeah.
then they don't have. So then there's no need for them to, you know, think like, oh, do you think we could be compatible more than just friends? And then of course, like, okay, then let's assume like in the Harry Met Sally situation, boy and girl, you know, they're both married to their respective partners or whatever. They both have partners. But let's say they both come to like they both have like issues with their respective marriages,
Mhm.
then they have each other to go back to. It's
Mhm.
not just because at a friendship, it's because there's a need, there's a void that has to be filled.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue with like, oh, can a man and a woman really just be friends? No, I don't think so.
And there's a quote where it's like, when talking about moving on, there's a quote that truly moving on is when their absence has as much an effect on you as their presence did.
Yes.
What do you think of that quote? It's strange because when people have the perspective of moving on,
Uh-huh.
I think a lot of them can think of it as like it's how you were before you met that person,
Mm-hmm.
in which I think that's like completely not true.
Okay.
It's important that if you move past it, you're not stuck in any way. And like if this person meant a lot to you, it should their leaving should have an effect on you. I think that's natural. It's very painful at points, but it's natural and it's important because if you're just reverting to who you were again, there's a good chance where it could happen again. At least that's how I believe it.
Okay. Well, I think that in terms of like, did you change as a person after that relationship, and how that connects to like if you truly moved on from them, I think that it has to do with like yeah, like does their absence still like play as a major part in your life? Like they could have been there like every day for you, and then all of a sudden they're gone. Like yeah, you still have feelings for them. You still again, it goes back to like, do you feel like the situation was resolved?
Yeah.
Right. And like I remember with my ex, I don't like for her, I remember she told me one time, like, she was like, it was hyper, like her attention. It's like, I'm kind of like ADHD almost when it comes to relationships. If she's really attacked, if she really likes somebody and she's like, and they're like in a relationship together, then they're like she's like very attentive. She's super like that, right? But the moment when she starts to lose interest, gone, done. And honestly,
So hot and cold.
like, yeah, hot and cold, pretty much. You know, there's no the Goldilocks, situation. There's nothing that can be warm about it. It's just like, all right, we're really into it. All right, not anymore. All right, we're out.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing in her situation, she didn't really feel much about like me, right?
Sure.
About like just leaving me behind.
Yeah.
But like when I realized that, I was like, oh my God, like why am I feeling so empty right now? Why? And then it's just going to like, oh, it's like, are we even still together at this point? And I thought we were, but like I could kind of see the signs of her like replacing me, not moving on, but replacing me.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that she could move on past where that void no longer meant anything to her. It's just taking the piece out and then putting another one in, right? And she thinks it's a better fit in some respect. And that to me, I was so heartbroken. Not only because that was my first relationship I was ever in, but also because like, I just the way it ended, it felt like I was suffering.
Okay.
It wasn't a mercy kill, right? It didn't feel like putting a dog down to ease their suffering. It was just letting them bleed out, and that's not like, and I remember hearing like an argument about like suffering is just like, when someone is dying, like they know they're dying and they're like slowly like drifting, like they're slowly drifting away from life. It's like, but to keep them alive, that's cruel, because they're not living anymore. They're suffering. That's not living. So to me, it just felt like, why do you keep this facade up of like, why do I have to keep it up and say, yeah, I have a girlfriend, when my girlfriend was just completely despondent of me for like the last 3 or 4 months that we were together. It felt really unfair to me that I had to say that. And while she was off probably saying like, oh, my boyfriend, or like, can't wait to see you in Germany or some shit like that. Sure. And I just hurt me a lot. And it took me a while to get past it. Like deep down, sure, I was seeing other girls at that time, or like just talking to other girls, and those other experiences also played a lot into it with them as well. But that's a whole different topic. Sure. But just like that in general, though, it's just like I felt like I needed to fill my void because of what had happened. Whereas it was like, it just felt like I had to fix something, I had to mend something, not create something new. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much the lowdown of that.
Yeah. For my situation let me ask you, do you feel like it scarred you to this day?
In some ways, yeah, because it kind of like messed with my self-confidence, because when we were together, I felt like I was on top of the world, right? I felt like, wow, I never thought in a million years it would be like this, that I would have a girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. But then when I felt like I was brought down, I was just like, man, what happened? What happened? Why do I feel like I can't even speak to people anymore? Like you lose your what's the word? Your self-esteem. Yeah. You feel like you lose your self-esteem at that point. You don't carry yourself as much as you did, or you try to overcompensate. Yeah. You overcompensate in another department, or in my case, it was just to compensate with my self-esteem. And it was just like having a heavy bravado. And of course that pushed a lot of people away. And I just think that was probably like part of my healing process. But it's like you try to stitch yourself up and you don't know how to do it properly.
Yeah.
And like the wound is still kind of like open a little bit,
Band-Aid.
and it's a dirty Band-Aid and you end up infecting yourself.
Yeah.
So like that's how I kind of viewed it, in my opinion.
That's a good metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to heal, but it's a dirty Band-Aid.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Our little intermission break, I mentioned something. Oh shit. After our little intermission break, I mentioned something to Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
There are, like I said, the topic of this podcast is what sparks, like what's the exigence for people to act differently, in which we were talking about their attachment style and what makes a person forgive somebody and what makes a person change. Like we were talking about all those things with Mr. Soldier over here. You know, I call that friend group like a lot of different things. I call Taha Captain Taha.
Captain Taha.
I call Elliot Dr. Elliot.
Yeah. When I watched the episode with the
Cruelty?
on cruelty, calling him Dr. Elliot, I'm like, what the hell? Call him Dr. Elliot for, bro. I like that though. I liked it.
suits him.
I call him. I would call him like player one. You know what I mean? He's dabbling into the chips a little too often. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alrighty, Soldier Brandon.
Yes, sir.
So, or Private Brandon. Would that be better? Saving Private Brandon.
Saved me a long time ago. Oh, dude, it's freaking heavy as hell.
Yeah.
Dude. Oh,
but
my hair's actually not that bad.
Certain people are really affected by perspective, as in reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way somebody acts can greatly revolve around what other people see them as.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, do you agree that that's common?
Oh, of course, yes. To a lot of people, including people in my own family, like reputation is everything, you know? And it's like it has to do with like saving face, especially like knowing that like if you do something, like if you've already screwed up, you have to recover from it. Because if you don't recover, then you know,
like all these people
who look at you, like they won't look at you the same for like forever, you know? And that's very true in a lot of respects. But for like me personally, and I think this started like a long time ago, because like freshman year of high school, I realized like, because I could at that time I was a very polarizing figure, you know, and at that time, and it still kind of holds true now, but like I like either you like me or you don't like me, and if you're in the middle, either you don't know me or you're a liar, right? Because if you do know me, then either you do like me or you don't like me, right? That's just how it works. That's just how it works, and I lived with that because like in order to not be concerned about what people thought of me, right? Because I felt like I wouldn't have been like my true genuine self if I was controlled by the thoughts and opinions of other people, right? And it just helped me like sleep better at night, just thinking like, you know, like I know who I am, you know, deep down, like there is no other better person who knows me than me, right? So I would so that was my my mindset for a very long time. It's not that I'm, and like now even, like it's not that I am concerned now about my reputation, because if I was, then we already crossed that bridge a long time ago. But it's also like I don't use it as a justification to be an ass, right? I admit, I've been an ass before, but still, like, I still have that in mind. Like, look, if you don't like me, fine, whatever. I'm not gonna lose sleep over it. But if you like me, then I appreciate it. But I guess there's like a second philosophy, and it's just like being that I've kind of like adopted now. It's just like, just be nice to people. Yeah. You know, you don't have to hold grudges. You don't have to have these predisposed notions of people from the get-go and forever dictate, like use that as the benchmark of who they are for as a person.
Mhm.
And like you don't have to do that,
Yeah, you don't have to listen to their reputation.
Yeah. What's up? But like, yeah, and that's just that's my whole mindset on
Mhm.
things. But like for other people who like really care about their reputation, it's like, how do you sleep at night?
Mhm.
Thinking about like other people and what they think about you.
Yeah.
Because if you're too caught up on that, then you're just gonna lose yourself eventually. You'll just lose yourself. You're not gonna remember who you are as a person, because you've had to change your personality, or you had to change certain things about you so many times to the point where it's unrecognizable of who you are as an actual genuine human being.
Not just unrecognizable, also indistinct. You
Mm.
can't even tell who the person is.
For real, honestly. Like, especially like in the context of high school, it's all about fitting in,
Sure.
right?
For lower grades, yeah.
And for lower grades especially. Like I actually wasn't like even when I first moved to Irvine, I knew that like I couldn't fit in, but I remember telling my mom like, I'm glad I never fit in, because I would have felt like I would lose myself, to lose the notion of who I am as an individual, right? Whereas those who like just like, all right, I'm this and that today, I'm whoever, then like, who are you as a person?
Right.
You've lost your spine. You have no spine. You have no backbone to no, I'm not calling out particular people, but there are people out there who just alienate their actual true personality from what they purport, and like then they're like not like an actual they're not, at that point they're not even an actual person. They're just like they're like, it's like a cardboard cutout.
Yeah.
That's what they are, just a cardboard cutout.
I mean, we say that. Also, you want one?
I'm good, thank you.
We say that, but you also mentioned that your mindset was like the opposite for a long time. Like, I don't really give a fuck.
Yeah, like I don't care. I even to this day I still don't really care of like like what you think about me. Now I'm now, granted, that mindset, I felt like,
I feel like there's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like, extreme one side, extreme the other side isn't good.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I kind of moved away from that into that sweet spot. I moved into that sweet spot, like I will be nice to people, right? I'm not going to use that mindset as a justification to be an asshole anymore. But like, I'm not gonna. But the thing is, like, I won't kiss your ass. Right. I'm not here to kiss your ass. I'm here to be nice to you. I'm not. Yeah. Like, because I think losing your identity, that's just like being a pushover, pretty much.
Yep.
You're therefore you're not true to yourself. I think that was the major discomfort I had with like confronting whether I could be my own person or just be someone else entirely that I wasn't.
Yeah. And like I said, it's not good to be the extreme on the other side. We explore the extreme of like want to conform, right?
Yeah.
But what's the difficulty of having that like I don't give a fuck personality? Because first of all, I've also had that too. Like I've become like a much more unkind person, not just unkind, but like closed off.
Yeah.
And more importantly, dismissive.
Yes.
Like I just push people away easily. Like even to a degree, it was like a point of selflessness. It was like, I don't want you to be like me.
Right. Yeah. I think that it just had a lot to do with like in terms of like being dismissive and whatnot. It just like if you go too far into that spectrum of like not giving a fuck, then you slowly start to become like an ass, right? And then you slowly start to just again like be dismissive, and then you start to grow. At least how I felt like and like the peak of that ideology was just like being cynical, just being a cynic. And I think that also had to do not with just having that not just having that mindset, but also a lot of things going on in my life at that time as well. But it just made me like cynical on a lot of things, thinking that like, oh, you started the Red Cross Club because you just wanted to get college credit. You don't actually care about what's going on halfway across the globe about those poor people. You don't care. You're just you just care about yourself. Which, I mean, in some respects, it can be true, but you don't have to assume. Like now, the mindset I have is like, okay, I don't have to assume that like there's always a ulterior motive. That it doesn't like it can like there's a chance it can be altruistic and not there's no hidden agenda behind it. Whereas before I was like, oh, there's always hidden agenda. There's always got to be something. Come on now, tell me what it is. But yeah,
I mean, to be fair, hidden agendas, even if they may be undertone underlying, they could also still be heartfelt.
Right.
And that could apply to any different situations. Like college isn't the best example, but relationships and friendships, even if there's underlying like wants, it could still be heartfelt and it could still be communicated maturely or grown out of.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. That is true. Like even it's like the age old classic of like let's say a boy wants to spend more time with a girl, so he's like, oh, I'm gonna go volunteer at this one club that she's a part of, in order to get to know her. Like, sure, it's not as altruistic as, oh, I want to help, with the dogs at the animal shelter, right? But it's still like, I want to get close to this girl because I genuinely have feelings for her, and I want to know. Yeah, it's still, I still want to get to know her. It's not like an inherently dangerous or life-threatening thing that's like, oh, I want, but whatever.
I think the line of reasoning for somebody who has hit that sweet spot is like, I don't want to be, or like somebody who is kind, but not because of other people, just because, like, per the topic, their personal agenda is to be a good person. And therefore, if they want to be a good person, they would be kind.
Right, yeah.
Like, that's what that sweet spot would entail, because you don't have that, I don't care, but then again, you don't care too much. And so the line of reasoning is like, you care about yourself.
Right.
And therefore, the people around you, as they're an extension of yourself, you would care about them. So
right.
you treat them with kindness.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that, like, yeah, and that's kind of like, I remember I was, last year, actually, this was one of the rare moments I actually, felt comfortable telling people how I felt.
Okay.
And I was talking to a very close friend of mine. Actually, this is a more positive thing, so I'm going to name drop Calvin. I spoke to him about something. It had to do with like, I really kind of regret having to carry this notion of being the reputation of being like I'm the guy who really doesn't give a fuck about anything, doesn't give a fuck about the world. Sure. So, because it was a huge strain on my ability to maintain relationships with people, not even just in a romantic setting, but just in like a interpersonal connection itself, to make new friends and whatnot. He told me like, it's not too late to try and turn a new leaf. And when he told me that, that kind of stuck with me, and that kind of started that was the spark, episode 13. There you go. Of me wanting to change as like my mindset. It doesn't mean I have to be a pushover, but like it doesn't mean I have to be an ass. So, like you said, go to that sweet spot of where like I can still be nice and kind to people, and still like, because they're an extension of who I am. People who I hang out with are an extension of who I am. That therefore I have to care. But it's not like it's an obligation. It's like an actual altruistic want to care.
And the struggle with that too is I hear personally, some of my friends are like, I live for others, and like, not necessarily validation or affirmation, just like the people around them mean a lot to them. And so they would want to, I don't know, keep interacting with them and keep having those experiences with them. But the thing is, that's draining. Might be a little too, or
it's too demanding.
It's demanding.
It's demanding.
It like puts you into an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Where if you're hanging out with the same people all day, like, of course it's hard to experience new things because it's with the same people to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it's a hard situation when I hear about that because a hard situation to relate to because
Mhm.
I've been on the more opposite side of the spectrum for longer of my life. But when I hear people who have that situation, it's not, I don't feel bad for them. I actually kind of like, in a way, I envy them because they're able to have such a kind heart to be able to care for that many people and care to that degree for that many people that they would make that self-sacrifice.
Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see that because I've struggled with like not caring that much at all in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard for me to say like don't care what other people think about you because like then again that humility and that kindness to care about people in that way is something that's very rare. And if you're just going to destroy that, even if it's to a self-sabotage degree,
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame in the world that that's
Yeah.
perpetuated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I actually, that reminds me of a quote.
I need a second Pringles to that.
Yeah. It's like it goes on about how like in a world of destruction, I chose to create. What
I
happened?
got mad chips in here.
Damn,
What the
son.
fuck?
Oh, it's not even on the side.
Yeah, it's standing up.
What? Okay. Well.
Looks like we deserve it.
You're right. Yeah. Like you choose like that kind of kindness. I feel like it's rare,
Mhm.
right? And therefore, you do your best to perpetuate it, to protect it,
Mhm.
right? Because if you don't, then what's left is the fire, right? The destruction. Why destroy something that's so beautiful? Is it to satisfy your own worldview? If so, your worldview sucks.
Mhm.
It sucks then. Who would want to have your worldview? Like a very close friend of mine, I feel like one of the reasons why also we're like drifting apart right now is
Sure.
that like we don't have the same sense of maturity anymore.
What do you mean?
Like we haven't had the ability together to expand at the same rate of our ability to let go of things, to see things in a more positive light. Like I had this journey of just trying to discover, try new things, try see new people, just understand things better.
Oh, so he hasn't, or whoever they were,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't gone through the experience of self-discovery as much.
No, I wouldn't say so. He's definitely still very much cynical on a lot of things. And granted, that may have to do with things going on with his life, but then again, it gets so draining having to like just say everything like, oh God, the world is so I'm so against the world when the world hasn't done you anything wrong.
Yeah,
right?
especially since you've also been surrounded with people who still have that life in their eyes and who isn't cynical.
Exactly. So like for him, maybe because he hasn't been surrounded by that, maybe that's why he hasn't moved on. But
Yep.
being able to be surrounded by people who still have the life behind their eyes, it just like it just encourages you to protect that and to keep that going. So for like in his situation, all he sees is just like, the world is a mess. The world is as angry as it gets, there's no saving it. So might as well just be part of the destruction, right?
Right.
That's his worldview. And that worldview, that it's just that negativity, that cynicalism.
That
the simple mindedness that's it's so draining to the point where like sometimes like I remember this one time he asked me to hang out and I'm like, bro, I do not want to hang out with you right now.
Yeah.
And but I felt obligated just to hang out with him because I know how he is. And I just like, I don't need that negative juju energy. I just want to, because I'm having a good day. I'm having this and that. I'm having a good time right now. Please don't bring it down. Because like, you know what they say, misery loves company, right? And if someone's miserable, they just want to bring other people down with them, because like I think it's an envy of that joy, of not having it anymore So therefore, like, you know, it's always like, well, if I can't have it, no one can have it.
Yeah.
So I think that's just like a very horrible thing. And it's something between me and him. It's like, it's not that it's irreconcilable, right? That we can't reconciliate on that. It's just that like he's just unwilling to come to that understanding. He's still, and I just feel like that being stuck there, it's like it's just immature.
Yeah.
And you know, like I'm like, when are you gonna move on, man? When can you? When you don't? When? At what point can you not be negative for one time in your life? When can you not be negative? Because that just like it just drains my day. Yeah.
And what's strange is that social media kind of plays both sides in that, because you see, man, stop giving a fuck, like it doesn't matter. But then again, those people who have that kindness and that care, those are put down.
Right.
And then you see people who are like, oh man, this guy's such an asshole, like he doesn't care about anything. Then it also pushes you in the opposite direction. And ultimately people get confused and like they don't know what to do. So they just become narrow-minded.
Right.
Every time, like they'll just stay in their lane, not try new things, because there's too many. That difference in opinions is jarring to too many people, in which they don't want to push beyond what they're comfortable with, in fear of like maybe it will turn out in what I saw on social media, or I will turn out in a negative way. And because they see that, they place that perception onto the people that they meet in real life. But it's hard to say, but you have control over your own life and your happiness.
Yes,
And
exactly.
that's what's important to accept.
You have the choice to decide whether or not today is going to be a good day or a bad day, right? I remember I used to wake up thinking on some days I don't know why I had this thought, but I was like, is today going to be a good day or is today going to be a bad day?
Like
Right?
it's out of your control.
Yeah, like as if it's out of my control, right? And maybe some things maybe don't go your way, but it doesn't mean that the world is against you. It's just what you make out of it, you know? And I remember I talked a lot about this to my dad, like, and he's just like, yeah, you know, like, because he saw how more positive I was getting in life more recently, and he was like, you know, I'm really happy for you, you know, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's just, you know, your perception on things is what you make of it on your day, right? So, like, you know, do you choose to mope about what happened before or whatever? Or do you choose to focus on the more positive things, you know? Or just do something that just makes you feel better, you know? And I think that has to do a lot with what people think of their lives, you know, how they view things. What time is it, sir?
3:47.
3:40. Oh my God.
Oh really?
Is it? No, is it? Yeah, it's 3:47. No.
Oh, what about? Oh, I thought you said something about your dad.
Oh, no. Well, I was talking about my dad before I asked about the time, but like, yeah, like, you know, it's just, that's what he told me and it kind of stuck with me. So it's like, yeah, pursue the things that make you happy, that brighten your day, and that, like, you know, if you choose to focus on negative things, then of course you're gonna have a negative life. You know,
That's the end of the story.
yeah, like that's bottom line right there. You know, that's just the way it is. Get a sip of this water.
Right. And in fact, that might be a nice way to leave things off with this episode.
There we go.
Episode. You have anything else on your mind you want to add? For me, I'm out.
You're out. Let me think. Let me think about that.
All right.
I'll
eat a Pringle.
I just think that, like, in terms of, because we were talking about, like, we're also talking about, like, letting things go, right? Forgetting the past. I've seen a lot of that in my life.
Okay.
About, like, even like what things that my dad's gone through, my mom's gone through, what I've gone through, and I just think that, like, so there's this one event that so actually so some things like I want to compare and contrast, right?
Okay.
So my mom growing up, her home life was very unstable
Okay.
and it influenced her on a lot of things. We talk about it sometimes. And one of the things was how like growing up, her relationship with her parents wasn't really that great.
Okay. Yeah.
And a lot of things happened. In fact, that's like how like my sister came to be and all that. But like my mom growing up, her parents were very demanding of her. They were very uh emotionally tormenting of her, and it kind of drove her away.
Okay.
And she was and I remember when she told me a story of how one time she was asked like, what are you still angry like about things, like, think of like your parents, what do you think about them? And she was angry, at them because of what they had put her through growing up. But I think a part of the process of her healing was like eventually coming to the fact like that they're still her parents and she still loves them, and like she eventually did forgive them. But like what I remember she told me like my grandmother was like when she had a conversation with my grandmother, her mom, it was like, like I love you and all that, but growing up, you were a terrible mother. And
Okay.
she was like, what are you talking about? I raised you just fine. I did what I, whatever. But like, no, like, you were horrible. You were tormenting, and like, but I forgive you, because I don't want to hold on to that any longer. Because all it does is just make me mad, right? All it does is just make me mad and despicable, or just despise the world about many things. But if I can just let that go, it gives peace of mind, right? And that's what she did. And of course, she still remembers, but it's not like it's not like
She's past it.
yeah, she's past it now, right? So yeah, like I think that's like a great thing she's done. Now whereas in my life there was this back when I was in 7th grade, right? I remember there was this girl, and I think she was the first girl I actually really had a crush on.
Okay.
Like I thought she was the cutest thing in the world, right? And I remember we were good friends. But I remember like she started to like kind of like drift away from a lot of things, and at that point I was really like attached to her. I really was, not only as a cool friend with a crush thing, but also because like I was also like, like really wanting to be like her friend or whatever, right? And I remember she told me a story of how like in 4th grade, how she got attached to somebody, like a guy, and or like schoolyard crush or whatever. But it really started to dominate her mind, right? And like it like affected her like in her grades and whatnot, and she didn't want to go with that anymore. She was like trying to like push me away.
Wow, that was amazingly mature.
Yeah. And looking at that, I'm like, wow, that's like looking at it now, I'm like, damn, okay. But of course, in 7th grade, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
So I remember like it all came to blows, and I remember she was like, you can always make new friends, blah blah blah, but I was like, no, I want you. So but eventually, of course, not eventually, like that moment, it kind of pushed her away, because not that it became obsessive, but it was like very just, well, maybe obsessive is a good word to use, but it just like please don't leave, blah blah blah. And then she saw it, like she just didn't respond kindly to that. And then I remember I realized that, and I tried to apologize, but she wouldn't take it. it got to the point where like even like I remember that the school counselors got involved with it, and that kind of also just started my distrust for school counselors as well, because I felt like administration, like they were never ever there to help me out on anything. I always felt like they were always against me, right? That's kind of started to change now, but like back then, I remember I was like, I don't like school counselors. They're always against me, blah blah blah. But even in her situation, it was just like I wanted to set things right with her by apologizing, and she wouldn't have a single moment of it, right? She wouldn't have a single moment of it, and I remember the school counselor told me, like, she's under no obligation to forgive you, which is true. We addressed that earlier, hours ago, but at that time, I just felt please, like, hear me out, at least hear me out. She didn't want to hear me out, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of stuck on me, and then like I remember she always like avoided me, which you had every right.
Yeah.
But like it came to the point where like that happened in 7th grade, right? She goes to our school now, and like we're practically, of course, we're practically strangers now. We don't know each other. But I remember like freaking freshman year, sophomore year, I think a little bit of junior year, she avoided me like the plague. And like, okay, look, 8th grade, understandable. Freshman year, all right. Sophomore year, junior year, all right. Now, this is a problem, okay? I'm past the issue at this point, all right? You're a stranger to me or whatever, but you're out here freaking like, if we walk into each other, you freaking dart on off to the other direction. You freaking hide behind this, or you know what? Like, why are you making it so obvious? Wow. Did what I really did it affect you that bad? If so, I am sorry, and I will keep apologizing for that. But like, damn, you're avoiding me like I'm the Black Plague. Like I got leprosy or something. Which I thought was like, it was so unfair. On like, to me, I felt like it was so unfair. But on top of that, it just reminded me like, wow, how is it that you haven't gotten over that? How did you not get over that? Like, seriously. And I'm not trying to brag or anything, but it's really just like, how the hell is it that I got over it quicker than you did? You know what I mean? Like, I hate to brag, but that's just the way it is.
Or berate.
Yeah. Or yeah. And it's just, because I remember the counselor was like telling me like, you may not be friends now, but maybe you can rekindle things back. Maybe when you get into high school or something. Of course, that never happened, but still, because that sentiment kind of stuck with me. I'm like, oh, hey, well, maybe she will. But then because I remember we shared, because it was we shared a math class together freshman year for the first semester, and she did everything in her power to sit away from me.
Wow.
Like, not even wanted to interact with me. Which it's like 2 years later, and it's like, okay, all right.
You're still doing it. But
you're still doing it now. I'm like, I might as well have killed your family at that point, for you to like think that I'm that despicable, So, that I feel like, compared to say, of course you could say, oh, apples and oranges compared to like the thing that happened with my mom. But like with my mom, it was way worse.
Yep.
But she was able, like, for me, it was like a little schoolyard crush that might have gone way a little too far. Right. But with my mom, we're talking like, these are the people who raised you, and, you should be mad at them forever. But she's not mad at them anymore. She's able to forgive them. And forgive them for something that's so big that affects her life to this day. How she brought up, how she raised her kids, right? How she raised my sister, how she raised me, because she swore she would never be like her parents raising the two of us, right? So of course it affected her a lot, but she's able to forgive her parents. Whereas in that situation, I'm like, now you're just being petty at that point. Like,
I mean, it's habitual for her, or for the person to like avoid you. I mean, it's very exasperated, but it's habitual.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It basically becomes habit. I mean, like, even like, because I know we share a mutual friend at this point, but I won't name drop. So We
Okay.
good. We good, son. But like, yeah, I'm like, all right, well, I guess you still have problems with me, so whatever. Yeah.
I mean, that's her decision.
Yeah. And that's like, all right, that's up to you. You want to live like that? Fine. I hope you don't do that to other people to the point where you just like, even for the minuscule of things, you just can't let it go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that.
I mean, that's her decision. That's her spark.
That was her spark, and the flames are still going.
Yep.
Fire has never been put out. For me, new fire. New fire. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm gonna slump over the chair now. Ugh. That dim sum is getting to me.
Jesus.
Mm.
Let me think. Do I have any more in the
You have
chamber?
any more? Yeah, one more left in there.
I don't know, because not only have I had a podcast last week, I've also had other conversations.
So it just gets like to the similar point of like they all revolve, they all orbit around the same
Yeah, sure.
topic, don't they? Yeah.
Sort of. It's like they orbit around the same topics, but they have different topics, but I have the same mindset. I have the same mindset.
Right.
Which is why I invite many different people.
Of course.
But yeah. So I think that I'll just wrap it up right there.
Okay. All right.
You wrap this up?
Yes, sir.
So this has been episode 13, The Spark. My name is Ivan Bascos, your host. Today I was joined with
Branden in.
Alrighty. Thank you all so much for watching. Like and subscribe. The Talking Stage is available on TikTok, Instagram for clips, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more platforms if you want to see the full VODs. Thank you all for listening and watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.